Yo, 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 yo. I'm gonna go through these jars, see which one I like the most right now. All right, all right. Yeah, I'm still fucking with that one the most right now. Not bad, not bad. All right, let's dump this in y'all. Okay, that's good stuff. Good stuff right there. I'm also trying out the new strains. Really excited about this. This is the first stream back. Hopefully I'll get to do this way more often. Now that I'm solo dolo, maybe I'll get to stream more often. Get back on my streaming shit. Oh, what up, Slow Down Vintage? I actually checked out your page. Pretty cool stuff. I actually have a bunch of cool like uranium glass and like a uranium clock. Some cool stuff in there. Very radioactive, that clock. Kind of scares me. Yeah, no problem. If you guys ever have uranium glass or anything cool like that, anything that's gonna glow, nothing lead, hopefully. But yeah, stuff like that. If it's gonna spike off my Geiger counter, let me know. Just say that. Hey, that's what's up. That's awesome. Really good. Because I'm about to try the lemon cherry gelato. Gelato. I'm about to try the lemon cherry gelato for the first time. What up, poop and stink? That's really cool though. Yeah, thank you. Cause yeah, we're big buyers, and yeah, could possibly help me out in the future. What up, Eric? We smoking or what? Yeah, we're smoking that gas, smoking that stank. Trying out the lemon cherry gelato from Happy Clouds. We're gonna try it for the first time, get the react, and see what it does to me. Really, it's like the resin is very body odory. That's kind of weird because it gives off like a lemony sweet, but like I guess like a lemony sweet onion. I guess that's the best way to describe it. And I don't think I have a lighter. Perfect. Perfect. No, that's just perfect. Perfect. Nailed it. Get it? Birdies worldwide. Let's go. All right. Here we go. Trying out the lemon cherry gelato from Happy Clouds Smoke Shop. You guys can check out my piece. Cattle piece. I need to clean it, I know. I don't want to hear a thing. All right. That's a sativa, so we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes right there. Very good taste, though. What up, Dirt Cheap Homestead? That's a cool name. Fuck. Okay. Let me give it a rating real quick. It actually has remnant flavors of lemon, so that's really cool. I'm going to give the flavor 7.3 out of 10 because there's a bit of tinge of acidity that I'm not fucking with. Or no, maybe it's bitterness. There's something in there that's a little bitter that I don't like. But other than that, flavor's good. Got to give it a sec for the stony baloney part. All right. In the meantime, we are going to watch what is to be expected for the weather of the summer and possibly the rest of the year. El Nino is a wind pattern that happens every now and then. This, in particular, just so happens to be a really big one. El Nino happens whenever a certain part of the Pacific gets too warm, so it starts drawing a lot of heat away and pushing a lot of cold air downward as opposed to hot air going upward. So we kind of switch for the summer for the north and south states. Not really, but
The El Nino begins. The Climate Prediction Center has now officially labeled us under an El Nino advisory. And even though they only actually meet once a month, we actually met the criteria a couple weeks ago. But nevertheless, it is here and it's been steadily upward since then. In fact, we're already over a degree Celsius. In fact, you could actually label us being under a moderate El Nino currently right now. But look at all the warm waters there in Pacific. And this is only the beginning because these are only going to intensify the deeper as we get into fall and especially the winter months and kind of what that means ahead in far as layman terms. This is what you would typically see in a typical type El Nino type pattern. The one on the bottom here, this is basically an more active subtropical jet stream. So you get an overall wetter transition across a good a good part of the west and much of the southwest, and some cooler anomalies further south. And over the top, you tend to get much warmer air, much drier air as well. And just the opposite of that is the La Nina, and that's what we were in, and now we're in an El Nino. So obviously, much of the Southwest has been dry. Much of
What up, Fly
California, much of
Vega?
areas of
How's it going,
Texas, and
man?
essentially into the Southeast. And you've seen the transition over the last month of the rains have definitely picked up, and overall it's getting a little bit drier out there in the Pacific Northwest. So that is going to be the trend in the months ahead. And look at this is about as bullish as it gets, folks. I mean, the European ensemble forecast just continues to put this in record breaking territory eventually as we head into the winter
So,
months. So
so
we are well on our way to one of the strongest El Ninos on record, if
what
not
this means,
almost the.
what this means, he's not really getting into what anomaly means, but so the anomaly is the amount of entropy that is potential to happen within the next coming months. Entropy is like chaos within the universe. After every reaction, there's an opposite reaction. So there's like negative space in the universe that is happening every single time any reaction in the world happens. Any reaction in the universe creates an opposite reaction, and that allows entropy and chaos to happen within the chemical sphere. But yeah, super creepy stuff.
The strongest El Ninos on record. So it'll be definitely interesting how far and how strong this is able to get. But yeah, most of the forecast is extremely bullish on this particular El Nino, and it's going to be around a while, and it's just starting. We'll be talking about this El Nino for 12 to 18 months to come. So we're just starting to see the beginning impacts of what's to come, of what El Nino is going to bring. And what it's going to bring, look at that, folks. This is the more amplified Pacific jet, and this
Oh
is
my
what's brought
gosh.
all the severe weather
California's gonna
across the north.
flood.
This amplified
Texas
jet
is gonna
stream. I mean,
flood.
we're talking the jet streams. The low level jet is cranking at 80, 90, 100
Mexico
miles an
is gonna
hour,
get
and
hit with
and
crazy
then now
hurricanes.
today on Thursday, we've got the upper Midwest is going to be clocked with a severe weather breakout. Unfortunately, for this afternoon into the evening time frame. So this is what we're going to be seeing, across the north with more active Pacific jet stream, and then further south we've got the ridge of high pressure that's bringing all the warmer anomalies. And if you look at the transition, this is the vertical velocity index, right? So this is kind of a cooler index, kind of shows where the more sinking areas, the more upward rising motion areas.
Oh
So
my
typically
gosh.
in El Ninos, you have a lot of drier air out here into the Atlantic basin. You've got a lot of wind shear, but it's completely the opposite if you
Dude,
cross
this
over on
summer's
the
gonna be
Pacific
so
side and you
wet
get
and
the
windy.
greens. That's the upward
It's supposed
rising
to rain
motion
again
air.
on
So it
Monday.
doesn't take much to
It's supposed
produce
to rain again in
showers and
Texas on Monday.
thunderstorms. And this is kind of where we're at about the middle part of June. But if you move the needle and get into the month of July,
Wow.
you can see as that El Nino continues
I
to
mean, that's
strengthen,
great for
these
us.
blues
I mean,
just
for
continuing
the
to
South,
strengthen
that's
out there in the
excellent, bro.
Pacific. So we've already have a couple of named systems already, and you can bet this is just going to be an extremely active year on the Pacific side. So we're going to be expecting numerous storms to traverse across this region. If it's anything as one of these years, some of these storms could actually cross the international date line and go as a typhoon. So, and this would be one of these years that also Hawaii would likely be in the cards of
Oh
likely
shit,
getting
yeah,
a
I totally forgot
possible
about Hawaii. There
tropical
they
type
are.
system, because they'll be
Oh my
definitely having
gosh.
more and more systems kind of heading their way in the months ahead. And what's also heading our way is much cooler temperatures. So after a very hot week, we're going to be cooling down in a big way once we get into the middle part of the month, which once heading into this weekend and getting into early next week, we've got a pretty fairly strong cold front for, June standards. And you've got a good part of the eastern 2/3 of the U.S. actually below average, and below average for this time of year. I mean, we're talking into the 70s for highs in Illinois. That's just going to be a really pleasant like air mass, and even 80s further south down into Texas. So this is a bona fide cold front for June standards. But also what comes back is the rain. So as the cold front will be sinking southbound, that's going to tap into the just a warmer, superior type of anomalies back again. You can tell the air mass is just extremely warm and humid outside. So it's just going to be able to wring out this precipitation with the more active subtropical jet stream. So it puts the above average rains back over Texas and back over Oklahoma and much of Kansas, much across the southeast here, and getting into Missouri, and then getting into portions of the East Coast, and getting into as well as in the mid-Atlantic and into the Northeast, while much of the northern tier will continue to remain on the overall drier side, and especially areas of the Pacific Northwest and far extreme portions of, say, California.
Make sure to prepare for a very wet summer. Make sure to prepare for a lot of electrical outings. Yeah, it's going to be wet, so wear your galoshes. Next, we're going to talk about the screwworm. The screwworm is a fly larva that is infecting cattle and domesticated pets, a bunch of other stuff. Pretty scary, but it's not necessarily a huge concern to the general population. But what it is a big concern to is the beef industry. The beef industry relies on a lot of clean, decent meat, and if there's a bunch of larvae and maggots in there, no. Last thing we're going to end on is the
and if
North
you
Korea
look at all the sinking air. If you go into the tropics, and as we get into
North Korea's got a bunch of greenhouses loaded up.
There are now a total of 6 animals in the U.S. that have been infected with the new world screwworm in recent days.
The pest feeds on mammals' flesh, and for months now, federal and international officials have been tracking the parasite's movement north through Mexico, and now it has arrived here in Texas.
The newest case we learned about today is in a cow in LaSalle County. 5 other cases have been reported in the last week, including one in Gillespie County, which is just west of Austin, as well as Zavala County and Lee County, New Mexico. Amid the race to contain the growing threat from the new world screwworm, we're seeing public disagreements and a rift between state and federal.
There's no way that there is not more. That's crazy.
Critical of the response, arguing it's been too slow. As KVU's Daniel Perot tells us, the state's top agriculture official has found himself iced out of the response.
It's the most gruesome thing that you could possibly imagine.
For many longtime ranchers like Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller, the return of the New World screwworm jogs painful memories. Miller remembers treating infected animals as a young boy.
It's so bad I don't even describe it. It eats you alive, basically.
Amid the race to prevent the parasite from gaining a firm foothold in Texas, Miller says he's frustrated some are playing politics. He says he's been left out of briefings and press conferences. Nate Sheets, who Governor Greg Abbott endorsed and defeated Miller in the March primary, has been there.
I've been ostracized because I've been critical of the USDA.
Miller drew the ire of U.S. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins for saying ranchers may not report a case on their farm if they believe the government will impose a quarantine. She says it's critical people rapidly report cases so they can deploy resources and stop the spread.
That is a very unserious comment from perhaps unserious ag commissioner.
While Miller stands by his comments, he says the USDA's movement controls have not led to a full quarantine.
He didn't say...
If they know it's just a health check, well, that's not a problem.
Miller is urging the USDA to use more than just sterile flies to combat the pest.
This is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
That's not a real...
working.
He wants them to use the screwworm adult suppression system, a bait and insecticide technology that was developed in the 1970s. The USDA says it's working to create a modern version of that technology.
The materials for the lure and the materials for the insecticide are no longer really viable to utilize anymore.
The primary insecticide used back then is linked to cancer, but Miller says there are other safe options now.
We can improve it and make it better if you want to, but we know it works. It's proven in the field and no harm to the environment.
Miller says he's preparing to take matters into his own hands and order his agency to deploy the technology on its own.
I want to solve this problem before I leave office.
We literally use them every day. We use that chemical all the time.
Threatens to thin out the state's already weak cattle herd and raise beef prices. Daniel Perot, KVU News, Austin.
We use the chemical that kills it all the time.
There's a lot of finger pointing about how it got here
it's
and whether
what we
the
use
Trump
for mosquitoes. It's what we use for flies in general. Any form of diphtheria, they're all going to be affected by it.
Ashley, a tweeter from Washington, D.C. to Texas, Democrats and Republicans are playing the blame game over why and how schoolworms made it to the American soil in Texas.
Of course they're going to be going back and forth. Oh, it's your fault. Oh, it's this fault. Honestly, it's whoever cut the funding of most of the things that were preventing this.
Administration pointing the finger at former President Joe Biden.
This does trace back to the last administration and the movement of millions of people and their animals.
The parasitic fly was eliminated in the 1960s, but Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins says it's back now because of the Biden administration's lax immigration policies.
It is 100% the reason, and no real effort to push it back and to keep it out.
But Democrats.
What the hell does that have to do with immigration?
Former President Biden closed southern ports of entry to live cattle imports to prevent the spread. In February 2025, the Trump administration reversed that decision amid protests from the cattle industry.
What does that have to do with immigration at all?
Some changes in
These
land
flies
usage
are not coming
in
on the
Panama,
backs of migrants.
that kind of played a little bit of a role in this.
Sonia Schweiger, an entomologist at Texas A&M University, says the spread over the past few years from South America was propelled by people moving infected animals.
Once you get active flies in an area, they then begin to transmit on their own.
Politicians on both sides of the aisle say the federal government isn't acting fast enough, in part because of cuts made by the Trump administration, including to programs dedicated to years from South America, was propelled by people moving infected animals.
Once you get active flies in an area, they then begin to transmit on their own.
Politicians on both sides of the aisle say the federal test from the cattle industry before closing the ports again 3 months later.
There's been some changes in land usage in Panama that kind of played a little bit of a role in this.
Sonia Schweiger, an entomologist at Texas A&M University, says the spread over the past few years from South America was propelled by people moving infected animals.
Once you get active flies in an area, they then begin to transmit on their own.
Politicians on both sides of the aisle say the federal government isn't acting fast enough, in part because of cuts made by the Trump administration, including to programs dedicated to monitoring the screwworm and employees at the USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, which protects agricultural health and manages wildlife damage. During a hearing this week, Democratic U.S. Senator from Minnesota Amy Klobuchar saying the department
has lost 25% of its staff, including more than 300 employees in veterinary services alone.
Rollins says staffing reductions haven't hurt the response, adding in the last year and a half the number of full-time staff devoted to the screwworm has increased from 10 to 120. It hasn't hurt the response,
then why are we
back and saying that Doge has basically caused this could not be further from the truth.
Rollins defending how the feds prepared, saying they slowed the advance of the pests to buy more time and ready a full.
But they never say how they did
much
that.
harder than anybody else to get ready for this.
Oh my God, but they never say how. But they never say how, ever. They never say, oh my gosh, this is working because we're doing these steps right here to prevent. They never get around to that part. They always just say, we're doing the most. We're doing the most. And it's the best, but it's not the best. It's never the best. So what the freak are they talking about?
Until next.
How do people believe them?
One producer in Panama, but that facility is maxed out at 100 million flies per week. Another facility in Mexico is expected to come online sometime in the next few weeks. In the studio, Daniel Perot, KV News.
So the only goal
Upset on the internet for making these carpenter bee traps. They said carpenter bees are a native species and natural pollinators, which they are. Luckily for them, my traps didn't work all that well, and I think it's because I made it out of log pieces instead of dimensional lumber. As time went on, I tried different things like this permethrin. I use a 1:20 ratio to treat all the surfaces. Doesn't hurt the bees if I do it before they actually build their nests. That's not all I use this for though. Using it at a 0.5% ratio, I can use it on my pants before I walk into tall grass. That deters ticks and chiggers from crawling on my pants and biting me. At the same 1:200 ratio, I can use it on poultry like my ducks, although I've never had a need to. I may even take some, make a towel damp with it, and run it over my livestock guardian dog Az. Just depends if I notice flies bugging him or something else. When I have it mixed up as a surface spray at the 1:20 ratio, in a garden sprayer with a good nozzle, I've found it effective at eliminating bee and wasp nests. Just don't use it on cats. It can also negatively affect reptiles.
I'm Dr. Tom Mather, the tick guy from the University of Rhode Island.
We're learning about...
Take it from the tick guide. One little episode is all it takes to get a tick.
Which is the, this is the prevention
Permethrin.
for... It's the prevention for screw flies.
How does it work? Permethrin was first made in 1973 and was first registered as an insecticide by the EPA in 1979. But the history of the chemistry that led to permethrin goes back just a few years, like around 400 BC. You see, permethrin is what is known as a synthetic pyrethroid, a man-made chemical with chemical structures like that of the natural occurring chemical called pyrethrum. Certain types of flowers in the chrysanthemum family contain quantities of pyrethrum. The ancient Persians discovered the insecticidal properties of pyrethrum around 400 BC. And extracts and powders made by grinding up the dried flowers have been used to control all types of insects and arachnids for more than 200 years. The first commercial product using pyrethrum was made in 1828, but actually there are accounts of similar products going back to China's Qin dynasty more than 2,000 years ago. Napoleon used this insect powder to help control flea and body lice infestations on French soldiers. Since then, pyrethrum has been used in many forms for effective, low-toxicity insect control. In its most common applications, natural pyrethrum and its synthetic form, permethrin, paralyzes pests by attacking their central nervous systems. Exposing an insect or a tick to permethrin quickly causes it to become incredibly hyperactive, and then it falls to the floor. Seemingly repelled, but very often the treatment is fatal to the bug. These days, the flowers used to make natural pyrethrum are mostly grown in Tasmania, Kenya, Tanzania, and Ecuador. But today, permethrin is available both as a spray and as pre-treated clothing that you can use to effectively prevent tick bites. So make sure before the next time you step outside that you already have your shoes pre-treated with the spray, and don't forget to wear treated socks as well.
We know that it's not that scary of a freaking thing. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to use permethrin.
That same expert, though, tells us that while ranchers are ready, panic buying alone could drive up beef costs. That's in the face of already record high prices having a major impact on a trademark Texas industry. Your favorite barbecue joints and restaurants that focus on beef are right now dealing with the challenges of a tumultuous marketplace. ABC 13's Daniela Hurtado, talked to pitmasters, experts, and ranchers about the impact. She reports tonight from a ranch in Manville.
Experts say the price of beef is the highest they have ever seen. The issue is they say there's less cattle on the ground than there has ever been in the last 7 decades.
I wonder why that is. Probably because it's too hard to feed
As
them.
the price of beef skyrockets, many are sniffing out the issue.
The herd, we're at a 75-year low. And, the demand hasn't changed, but the herd population has. And a lot of it's because of drought situations.
Black Star Wagyu ranch owner Tom Laird has acres and acres of beautiful green pasture in Manville for as far as the eye can see as he raises his farm-to-table cattle.
there's just a lot of small family ranches in the state of Texas.
The thing is, many of the people we spoke to all say the same thing.
It's a way of life.
Beef and barbecue are in the DNA of Texas.
Put it in a half-can, Juanito.
Some say the increase in beef prices
It's Texas Angus beef.
are concerning, as pitmasters like Russell Regal say they are paying $6.55 for a pound of prime grade brisket.
I've had friends who've lost their restaurants because of it, where they just weren't making enough to keep the doors open. And it's a fear for me on a daily basis.
I think we're at a point to where these are some of the highest prices we've ever seen.
Meat specialist Davey Griffin says the core of the issue are several factors like the high demand of beef, the drought, and people having to rebuild their herds, which takes time.
And it's going to be high for 4 or 5 years because you just can't rebuild the cattle herd overnight.
And similarly to a rotisserie barbecue pit, Griffin says it's all a cycle.
It's got, racks that rotate around and lets everything pass through the heat zones.
Regal hopes prices never reach $7 a pound. Daniela Hurtado, ABC 13, Eyewitness News.
As Texas sees a boom in AI data center development, some state leaders are calling for a pause. Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller is pushing for a temporary moratorium on data centers, citing environmental impact concerns. I'm Alex Webb, and I brought Miller's proposal to local residents to see where they stand. Commissioner Miller said in a statement that Texas is moving too quickly to approve new data centers without fully understanding their long-term impact. He's asking the state to take a step back and study how these projects could affect farmland, electricity demand, and water resources.
They're building these things on our very most productive farmland. We need to stop and pause and figure out what's this going to do to our electric grid? What's it going to do to our power source? How much power are they going to use? Are they going to put any back on the grid, those that are making their own power? And the big elephant in the room is water. How much water are they going to consume? We're already in a drought. That's the exact purpose of the moratorium, is give us 12 months. Let's catch our breath. Let's work through this. Let's get it right. Let's do the studies. Let's figure out the answers to all those questions.
There's a small chance we'll get out of the drought this year.
The rapid growth of data centers is already creating challenges for some Texas communities, including here in Abilene. He points to rising property values, rental costs, and other pressures he believes are connected to the industry's expansion.
80% of the people are against the data centers now. They're just, they're just doing too much damage. It's outrageous what it's doing to our communities.
And those concerns were echoed by some residents here in Abilene.
My only concern
this
for me
summer
that I know about is
be
the housing
very
stuff
wet,
and
so
rents being really expensive. I know an individual whose their apartment rent has doubled because of, I'm assuming it's because of that, and so it does scare me.
Others told us they worry that simply calling for a moratorium wouldn't be enough.
Moratoriums is nothing. Nobody has addressed the respiratory disease rate in data center area codes. That is what needs to be addressed. Moratoriums have nothing to do with it. It's the medical
area codes.
It's people get sick there.
Miller says the goal isn't to stop development permanently. Instead, he wants state leaders to use a one-year moratorium to study the impacts and consider additional safeguards.
You're at the smoke shop.
There's a lot of unanswered questions out there. So we just need to take a pause, slow down, get it right, and figure out how to do this the right way.
Man,
we're not doing it the right way right now.
Despite growing concerns from some residents, no local officials have called for a halt to data center projects, and development is moving forward as planned.
Yeah.
In Egypt's desert landscape, a tiny floating plant is being given a high-tech makeover. Inside this greenhouse, Alprotein is cultivating duckweed while using artificial intelligence and connected sensors to monitor every stage of growth. The company says the idea emerged after global food supply disruptions exposed vulnerabilities in agricultural systems.
So it all started during or after the Ukraine and Russia war. As unfortunate as it was, it affected the whole world when it came to supply of crops. And one of the countries that was highly affected was Egypt.
The startup's Orion platform combines hydroponic farming with the Internet of Things sensors and AI models designed to track growing conditions and improve productivity.
Duckweed.
Engineers say the system can identify contamination risks, forecast greenhouse conditions, and help determine the ideal harvest time.
The IoT team, we deployed an Orion Pro, which is classified to two things: the IoT monitoring and controlling system, plus the Orion models.
According to the company, one of the system's biggest advantages is efficiency. The AI tools are designed to reduce costs while increasing yields from each growing cycle.
Detecting, it just detects the contamination sources just in order for us to cut our cost for about 40%, and determining the optimal harvesting time just in order for us to increase our yield production for about 20%.
The crop at the center of the operation may be small, but its potential is attracting attention. Duckweed grows rapidly and can thrive in brackish water, making it suitable for regions where traditional farming faces environmental constraints.
This tiny aquatic plant is an incredible and absolute powerhouse. It doubles in just 24 hours and requires no water or land compared to the traditional crops. We grow it in only brackish water.
Alprotein says the harvested duckweed is being developed into protein ingredients for food products. The broader goal is to create sustainable food production systems in areas where conventional agriculture is difficult.
We affect water, we grow proteins in the deserts, and we directly affect food security in non-arable regions.
As pressure grows on food systems worldwide, startups like Alprotein are betting that the answer may not lie in expanding farmland, but in reimagining how food is grown one tiny plant at a time. Caroline B,
I'm gonna send them
CGTN.
some spirulina. Like, dude, just you grow this. All right, we're gonna see Canada's
the federal
agriculture
government
strategy.
released AI for All, Canada's new national artificial intelligence strategy. It arrives at a moment when countries are competing not just over technology, but over the talent, data, infrastructure, and institutions that will define the next generation of economic capacity. For the agri-food sector, there is something meaningful in where agriculture lands. It is listed explicitly among Canada's national priority sectors for focused AI investment. That placement reflects where the sector already is. Food systems are becoming more digital, more data-intensive, and more connected to questions of resilience, competitiveness, and food security. For agriculture, the issues to watch include rural connectivity, data governance, interoperability, skills, affordability, and whether producers and Canadian firms can capture value from the tools and systems being built. There is also a wider resource question. AI infrastructure depends on compute, energy, water, land, and governance. There is opportunity here, and there is complexity, but agriculture is in the room, and that is an important place to start.
All right, that's good. Not bad, not bad.
So when I first met Nico, two people came into my office to show you an exciting new product, which was a camera. And I'm like, yeah, camera, yeah. Now what do I do with the camera? This is what I need done. And they listened, and they took it back and they developed a piece of hardware that's really the next generation when it comes to thinners.
This is Matt McGuire. I'm the Chief Agriculture Officer for JV Smith Companies.
I like to be outside, and the best thing about ag for me is actually working with the people. And that's what I'm
this
really
guy's
good
about
at.
to show us
I'm good
how
at managing
his
people,
return of
laying out
investment
statistics on,
expanded
logistics,
after allowing AI to
figuring out
help.
what's wrong with the crop,
His farm is
or what
huge.
can be done
Holy
to make
crap.
a crop better or grow it a little bit cheaper or a little bit better. That was my forte. I recognize this is a business. As many generational farmers, they view it as a lifestyle. Well, you still got to be able to make a living at it. And so that's a little bit different perspective than a lot of generational farmers.
Yeah.
A lot of generational farmers just want to farm to farm. I want to farm to make a living for the people that work for us, to make a living for the owners, and return money on their investment and have them want this a business that people want to be involved in. We started small, we've grown since then. So total, we're farming a little over 20,000 acres of leafy green vegetables throughout the year in different spots. Like I said, Colorado, Mexico here, in Yuma and in Salinas. We plant more seeds than we need, and we take out just enough so we have a perfect stand like this when you get done. And 1/3 to half of all our labor is tied up in weeding and thinning. So that's where the whole thought of, wait a minute, this can be done with technology. Labor was getting very tight, it's getting very expensive. So how do we reduce that labor on mundane tasks that when we're having a hard time finding people to do? It's very generational. Our workforce is getting older and older, and there's not young people coming into it. So how can we replace that workforce with technology? Nino group actually worked with my growers out in the field, real hands-on experience, looking at how to set up the operating system for the operators, and it had to be in
We
Spanish.
get it. This guy's fucking
easy,
glowed up,
and
he
I
didn't
got
even
one
need
machine.
AI to do it, but now he has AI, and it's even better. What I really want to focus on is Kim Jong-un building 5 kilometers worth of greenhouses. Him and his daughter took a trip to the greenhouses recently, and we're going to look at them. It's very, very interesting. It's quite possible that this is about to be in Chinese, maybe. So let's get some subtitles. Hopefully there's English. Auto-generated. All right, let's go.
Well, across the border this past weekend, North
She
Korea's
speaks
Kim
English.
Jong-un was at a massive greenhouse compound for the 3rd time this year to commend the efforts thus far and to call for technological advancements beyond those for simple production. Our Ian Jin files this report.
All right.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un visited a large-scale greenhouse complex in the northwestern city of Siniju on Sunday, accompanied by his wife Lee
hold on.
Sol-ju.
What are those? What are those? Those look like melons of some sort. They have melons growing upright. That's, dude, sick. Dude, they have trellis systems. Oh my god, it's beautiful. Look at that.
Daughter Chue, sister Kim.
See, we got cabbages, cabbage, broccoli,
Yeojung, and other ranking officials. It was his 3rd visit to the
lettuce.
complex this year, and his 8th
Wow.
visit since 2024 when it was built, following
Look at
devastating
him. He
floods
looks
to showcase the
adorable.
regime's
Look
focus
at his little hat. He looks good. He looks good.
on improving people's livelihoods. The North Korean Central News Agency reported on Monday that Kim visited the complex for an on-site review of vegetable production.
Wow, look at that. I feel like they're built way too close to each other. I feel like that's going to be really, really close to each other. I wonder what area it's in.
And management operations. It also said that Kim expressed satisfaction with reports that hundreds of tons of vegetables were being harvested daily. For improvements, he stressed the need to be able to grow vegetables year-round while reducing energy consumption and production costs, calling it an urgent matter. In addition to greater crop diversification, Kim also addressed methodological issues, saying the focus needs to go beyond productivity. He called for the application of scientific and technological principles to fertilizer and cultivation management, including greater mechanization of production and logistics, as well as a faster adoption of advanced technologies. He also stressed the need to ensure the supply of highly nutritious and flavorful vegetables for the people.
Yep.
Kim also
works,
toured
buddy.
the ongoing construction sites of a new health center facility and a vegetable processing plant, both of which are reportedly at about 50% completion. He commented that
he's working, man. He's putting in work. He really wants his people to thrive, I'm telling you. North Korea in 20 years is going to be big and strong from all of this.
That the new constructions will contribute to improving the health and quality of life of residents, and that once completed, the complex will serve as a model and new standard for regional development in the new era. 이은진, 아리랑 News.
Wow, that was a pretty good stream. Well, thanks guys for joining. I'm going to get off now and start getting ready for work. That was pretty fun. I'm going to try to do this a little bit more often now that I have some free time. As long as I get my homework done, I should be able to do this. And we'll get some more clips and we'll have some fun on the stream eventually. But in the meantime, you know, we're hey, afternoon. Yeah, we're getting off now, guys. Go watch the VOD. It's gonna be uploaded on YouTube right after this. We talked about the screwworm, El Nino, how it's gonna be a wet summer, and how AI is affecting agriculture in 2026. But we also just talked about Kim Jong-un visiting his greenhouses. They're pretty badass. So check that out later. Yeah. Hope you guys catch the next stream. Bye.